legends sleep in forgotten lands, but not for long. Follow the whispers, brave the shadows. This is Mythrathia. Your journey through mythic realms begins with a step into the unknown. In the beginning, there was no sky, no earth, no sea, only chaos, not as emptiness, but as the first breath of what would become everything. A yawning void, vast and nameless, older than time, deeper than silence. It did not think, it did not dream. It simply was a chasm of potential, trembling with the weight of all that had not yet dared to be. From that abyss, something stirred. Not with sound, not with light, but with longing. And from the longing rose Gaia. She was not born as mortals are born. She did not cry. She did not open her eyes to a world already waiting. No, she became the world. Her skin was the soil, warm and dark. Her bones were the mountains, rising like ancient spines from her back. Her hair was the forests, whispering secrets to the wind before wind had a name. She was Earth, not a goddess among many, but the first mother, raw, fertile, eternal, and she was alone. In that solitude, she dreamed. She dreamed of a sky to cradle her hills, of stars to watch over her valleys, of rain to kiss her rivers awake. And because she was the first will in existence, her dream took shape. From her own breath, from the hush between heartbeats, rose Uranus, the star-strewn heavens. He was vast, silver-limbed, beautiful beyond measure. His eyes were constellations, his voice the hush of galaxies turning. He arched over Gaia like a lover, and for a time they were one, sky pressed to earth, night entwined with dawn, their union humming with the music of creation. From that union, life erupted. First came the Titans, 12 in number, each a force of nature given flesh and fire. Oceanus, eldest, whose veins were rivers and whose thoughts flowed without end. He walked the rim of the world, tracing its edge with fingers that never tired, never ceased. His voice was the tide's murmur, his silence the deep's hunger. Cous, the inquisitor, whose mind turned like the celestial spheres. He saw patterns in the stars before stars knew their own names. He asked questions the universe had not yet learned to answer. Crius, the untamed storm whose laughter shook the roots of oaks and whose wrath could crack mountains like eggshells. He did not speak often, but when he did, the earth listened. Hyperion, the watcher of light, who stood at the dawn's gate each morning and coaxed the sun from its slumber. His eyes held the memory of every sunrise that ever was and every one yet to come. Iapetus, the weaver of fate, who carved paths into the unseen. He knew that every life is a thread, and every thread must someday fray. He taught his children to walk with purpose, for even gods leave footprints. Cronus, the youngest of the sons and the most cunning. His hands were steady, his gaze unreadable. He did not rage like Crius or ponder like Cous. He waited. And in that waiting, he gathered power like dew on spider silk. Then came the daughters, Thea, whose tears became amber and whose laughter turned stones to gold. She walked with the grace of twilight, and wherever she stepped, gems bloomed beneath her feet. Re, wild and tender, who cradled storms in her arms and sang lullabies to newborn rivers. She loved fiercely, protectively, and would one day love too much to let go. Themis, whose eyes saw not what was, but what should be. She measured truth with scales made of starlight and justice with silence. Even the winds stilled when she spoke. Mnemosyne, keeper of memory, who remembered the shape of chaos before Gaia stirred. She knew that to forget is to die twice, and so she gathered every whisper, every sigh, every unspoken vow, and wove them into the fabric of time. Phoebe, the moon priestess, who walked barefoot through dreams and left silver footprints on the brows of sleepers. She saw what others feared to name, the hidden self, the buried wound, the secret wish. Tethys, the nurturer, whose arms were oceans and whose lullabies filled the shells of unborn creatures. She gave life not with fire but with flow, with the quiet insistence of water shaping stone. These were the Titans, not gods as mortals would later imagine them, distant, capricious, enthroned, but primal forces wearing human skin. They walked the newborn earth barefoot. They drank from rivers that had no names. They spoke in rumbles and sighs, in the creak of glaciers and the crackle of lightning. But Gaia and Uranus did not stop there. From their union came others, beings too strange, too vast, too much for the world to hold. The Cyclopes, three brothers, Brontes, Steropes, and Arges, each with a single eye blazing like a forge fire in the center of their brows. Their hands shaped thunderbolts before thunder had a voice. They laughed with the sound of splitting rock, and their dreams were storms waiting to be born. And then the Hecatoncheires, Cottus, Briareos, and Gyges, each with 50 heads and 100 arms. When they moved, the earth trembled not from fear, but from awe. They could uproot forests with one hand and cradle newborn stars with another. They were chaos given form, strength without limit, beauty too terrible to behold. And Uranus looked upon them and recoiled, not in awe, not in wonder, but in dread. "They are too much," he whispered to the void. "Too strong, too wild. They will unmake what we have made." And so, in the dead of night, when Gaia slept beneath a sky of his own making, Uranus did the unthinkable. He reached down not as a father, but as a jailer. One by one, he seized the Cyclopes. One by one, he bound the Hecatoncheires. And then, with hands that had once traced constellations across Gaia's skin, he shoved them back into her womb. Not into Tartarus, not into chains of iron, into the very body that had borne them. He pressed them deep into the earth's core, into the molten dark, into the silent places where roots forget their names. He sealed the entrance with mountains of his own making, volcanoes, cliffs, chasms, locking away his own children as if they were monsters, not miracles. And the Titans. He left them above, free but watched, free but afraid. For the first time the earth grew cold. Gaia awoke to a silence so profound it screamed. Her womb, once warm with life, now a prison. Her children, once singing in the deep, now muffled, crushed, weeping in the dark. She called to them. No answer came. She shook the mountains. Only echoes replied. she turned to Uranus, her lover, her co-creator, her betrayer. He would not meet her eyes. He drifted higher, farther, until his stars became distant, indifferent. And Gaia wept, not with tears but with earthquakes, not with sobs but with rivers of fire. Her grief carved canyons, her rage birthed deserts. The world, once whole, now bore the scars of a mother's broken heart. But Gaia was not only sorrow, she was also will. In the shadow of Mount Othrys, where the wind carried the scent of ash and iron, she gathered her Titan children. Not all came. Some feared Uranus too much. But 6 stood with her, Oceanus, distant but listening, Hyperion, eyes narrowed like dawn before storm, Iapetus, silent, weighing the cost, and Cronus, always Cronus, watching, waiting, his fingers curled like hooks. And the daughters, trembling but resolute, Themis, already seeing the shape of what must be done, Mnemosyne, whispering forgotten oaths into the soil. Gaia did not plead, she did not rage. She spoke one sentence, low and final, like the closing of a tomb: "One of you must cut him down." Then Cronus stepped forward, not with bravado, not with fury, but with the quiet certainty of a blade finding its sheath. He did not ask how, he did not ask why, he only held out his hand. And from the deepest wound in her body, the place where her children were buried, Gaia forged a weapon, not of bronze, not of stone, but of adamantine. Black as the space between stars, sharp as the first thought. A sickle, its edge hummed with the memory of chaos. Its hilt was wrapped in roots that still bled. Cronus took it and waited. For Uranus always returned at dusk, drawn by habit, by memory, by the ghost of love. He would descend from the heavens, wrap himself around Gaia once more, and pretend the world was still whole. But this time, when he came, this time the earth would not welcome him. This time the sky would fall. The night before the deed, Cronus stood alone on a cliff of black basalt. Below, the sea churned, Oceanus turning in his sleep. Above, Uranus glittered unaware. Cronus did not pray. He did not tremble. He remembered his brothers in the dark. He remembered his sister's silence. He remembered the 100 hands of Gyges reaching for a sky he would never see, and in that moment he understood. To be a Titan was not to rule, it was to endure. But even endurance has its limit. The wind carried a single word from Gaia's lips, though she stood leagues away. Now, and Cronus raised the sickle. High above, a star blinked out. Not from death, but from fear. The blade is ready, the sky still breathes. But what if freeing his siblings means chaining the world to a new kind of darkness? Will the price of liberation be written in the blood of gods yet unborn? Watch in the next Journey Through Mythic Realms.